What's going on, guys? So today we're going to get the bottom end assembled of the D16Z6. Pistons finally came in. I got my rods. Everything's here to get the bottom end finally assembled. I was just waiting off on pistons. So what I did end up using, or I know a lot of guys have used these, because I don't plan on making an insane amount of power, so I didn't want to buy forged, because really just price wise. So I picked up some YCP pistons. The Viteras, which are super common in the Honda world. Got some NPR rings that came with it, and rods are in that box. But I need to just get this block honed out today, and like I said, we'll set the ring gap, we'll do everything. And I always use these types of hones. These are my favorite type of flex hone like this, or bead hone. They do the best job. I know you can use a 3 feet one that sticks out with stones on it. It works alright, but this is my favorite type of hone to use. I've always had really good results with it. Alright, so when you're done, I always, after you hone everything out and it's good and you got your hones and stuff like that done, what I always do with the block is I end up grabbing, because you want to clean it with hot soapy water, but I always grab just some engine degreaser, just some cheapo Walmart SuperTech stuff I use all the time, but I always pick up a can of this, and then I'll spray it on the block, and so any of that honing oil and stuff like that, it kind of breaks that down. And then I'll take my power washer or just water, soak it down, and then I'll take hot soapy water and then rinse the rest of the block off with. Alright, motor's honed out. I cleaned it out like I said. I set the bearings in here. I was going to measure the crank and then show you how to do that. I just checked it real quick myself, and it is off, and I thought it was. I was getting weird measurements, but I just wanted to set the bearings in here anyway and plastic gauge it and make sure everything goes wrong like I thought. And I am getting like 3,000s on some of these, which is way too loose for these Honda motors, so I'm going to order a crank for it. Alright, now that we got in the block, we're going to check the ring gap on these rings. So you got your first ring and your second ring, and then obviously our piston and the wrist pin, they always come together. You have an oil control ring and then 2 oil rings. You have your first ring right here. Loosen it up. This is your first ring, and on piston rings there's always a marking, so you need to know where to put the ring, which is facing up. So on these rings, let's see if the camera focuses on that. You can, right there, you can kind of see it's blurry right now, but the camera doesn't want to adjust. It's too confused to try to focus on that. But that's the little marks. A lot of times there may be a little dot or a mark or that one says N, which is the NPR rings. That's gonna face up. So all I need to do is take this piston ring, set it in cylinder. I always go like this, and then you just turn it in. You don't want to scratch it. And take the piston with nothing on it and push it down in the bore. Some people only go down to the bottom of the piston here. I normally go about that way all the way down until it's on the bottom right where it's on the skirt of the piston. Pull it up, and but now you can see right there. You can also see the little N. That's what I was talking about. Right in there, that's our ring gap mark for the motor. So what you want to do is take a feeler gauge. This is 18,000ths of an inch. My top rings are 18,000ths. My bottom ones I was measuring them at 19,000ths. And this is not factory Honda specs. So if you're wondering how you get those, there is a mathematical equation you can actually do for like a turbo application that'll tell you what to do. I can put in the bottom of the description so you know what it is. The first ring is going to be 006 or 6,000ths. times your bore diameter, which this it's standard bores, which you're going to measure it. This is 2.953 because it's 75 millimeters, and that will give you 18 thousandths. And then your second ring is 0.065 or 65 thousandths times bore equals etc. That's how I got my ring gaps. So pretty much all you got to do with the feeler gauge, this is you just put it in here and you set it in here and make sure it grabs, or don't drop it, but make sure it slides in there, and the next size up doesn't fit, and you're pretty much good to go then. And you're not like jamming it in there or forcing it in there. You just want a little tug on it, and then you get your ring gap. Is if this is too small. Now right here I have a special tool, which is actually a ring filer, and not everyone has one of these. It's a little wheel, as you can see right here, and it has two little dowels, and you just set your ring in here and push it against that, and then angle it on here, and then you just turn this and it'll grind your piston ring down to whatever the spec is supposed to be. Pretty simple to use and really convenient, and you just keep grinding and putting it back in the bore till you get your measurement. Alright, so first of all, I always start out with the oil ring, and this is the oil control ring right here. So take your oil control ring, set it onto the piston, like so, and right here, as you can see right into here, this gap opens up. Make sure they don't butt over or lay on top of each other. You'll have a serious problem. That's in there. Then you always have two oil rings. These don't matter where they go. There's nothing identifying it. So this, you just simply set up on the top of the piston. That's how I always, sometimes they fall in the first ring land, but bring them down. Okay, it fell right into the ring land, and then take the other one, and I normally get it from the bottom of the skirt. Try not to scratch the skirt, which I just did. It's pretty hard not to, but and then it should just fall right into place, and then you're good to go. And then you will have to gap these, which will show that. Clock these, which we can show as well on how to properly gap the rings. So then we need to get this is our second ring on, which the end is right up here. Now you can slide it on like I just showed you. They do make pliers on here. Not a lot of people like them though. Some people do, some people don't. You just grab them like that and it spreads it open. But you do need to be careful. But you can see I just set it. It sets it right on. You do got to be careful because you can break piston rings and then you're like, oh shoot. And you have to get a whole set. You can't just buy a second ring. So that's a big pain. And then you just take this one. Same thing, kind of just bam, and now they're on here. So that's the thing is, you can, but that's the way I like to do it. Now for the ring, for clocking the rings in the cylinder, the first ring up here, now this is you can do this anyway, but you don't want any of the rings to touch each other. I never put any of the compression rings over by the wristband side, because you actually can get loose compression, blow by, etc. like that. It's crazy that sounds, so I always want on the skirt. Or what I know a lot of Honda guys do is you'll take the clocking of the ring and they'll set one ring, so here's the piston, and they'll set that gap all the way here, and then the second ring they'll set the gap here, and an oil ring here, and an oil ring here. Pretty much where the valve reliefs are, you put opening of each of the rings on one of these. Or you could do, or I've done this before, but that one, the first one works, that's probably the best way. Or you could do compression ring, oil ring, oil ring. So pretty much either way works. So that's really simple. That's that. Now let's get to the actual assembly of the rod. The H-beam rod. These are actually CX Racing rods, so they're really cheap rods. They're like $250, I think, with rod bolts. So I don't know how good these are, but I like to try stuff, and I know it's an engine, so it's like, really, should you try it? But hey, it is what it is. And to get, so yeah. So anyway, assembling this. First of all, these don't have bolts on them from the factory. you have to insert them, and this doesn't just come off. You have to kind of wiggle it around real hard, and then it'll come off because it's on 2 dowel pins. But anyway, so what we need to do is take the piston. These don't matter, which I don't have anything matched up. But here's a wrist pin, and what I always do first before we install the rod is these actually came with a set of C-clips on it. Here we are. They're just normal C-clips or snap rings, and I always set one in the first groove of the wrist pin bore. So I grabbed some snap ring pliers. You can get any kind. These are just Cinemaco ones. Put them in here, get it close to it, and then squeeze them in like that. And then after you're in, as you can see, it's in there. See how it's not flush right there, so just give it a little push sometimes and it'll pop in. Or if it doesn't want to, like that, then I'll go ahead and squeeze it a little bit more. Alright, I finally got that one on. I shut off the camera because this is being a pain, but you saw how I set that in there. Now, when you put the wrist pin through here, it stops by the clip. So pull the pin back out, and what I like to do is I always do use a little bit of assembly lube on the pin and stuff, because this is going in. I'm not undoing it. It's just good to do. So put some assembly lube on the pin here. You don't have to go crazy with this. Now that you got that, you can grab your rod that we got right here, and you can just set it down onto the piston and grab your pin. And it slides right in like that. And these rods, these new rods and stuff, especially H-beam rods and whatnot, they don't matter where they're orientated at. So you just set them in there like so. And then what you do is you put the snap ring on the other side. I'm not going to show that, no need. Like this one. And I didn't put assembly lube in here. I have to. I should have. I don't know why I didn't. I was just being dumb. But now you got your rod assembled on here. This one actually has a bearing and stuff like that on there. But now these are full floater setup. That's how I have the motor. So nothing's press fit. It's all floating. So now you have your rods and stuff. And then you're ready to install them, which...